All right, it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Administration Committee meeting for December 13th, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Cook,
Present.
Vice Chair Counter,
Present.
Supervisor Long,
Here.
Supervisor Fiedler, Supervisor Burning.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item, approval of minutes from Tuesday, November 8th. Any changes to the minutes? Nope, it doesn't look like it. All right, the minutes will stand. Public comment. And do we have anyone here for public comment today? Doesn't look that way. Anyone for public comment? Anyone for public comment? All right, we'll close public comment. Business items. First item, financial report for November 2022. Ken?
Yeah, the financial report is in your packet. This is through November. If you look at the revenues coming in, we have 5% of the revenues remaining, which would put us right on target with where we should be. We're ahead of where we were last year at the same time. And then when you scroll down and you look at the expenses, we have 5% of the expenses remaining, which puts us right on target. And expenses are running about $1.5 million higher than they were last year, but overall the budget's a little bit higher too. So county finances are very predictable, very consistent, and they are right on target. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of the attached schedules.
Are there any, Supervisor Counter?
Just a few quick ones, just for clarification for me. On item 52117 on legal services, there was a $6,795. I'm just wondering what that was.
Yep, so legal services are outside contracted legal. And so when we get sued, if it's not an insured case, we'll hire outside legal services. So we've had a case filed against us related to action of the Board of Adjustment over the zoning of a piece of property, conditional use permit for that. So that's not covered by our insurance provider. The defense is not covered. And so we'll contract with outside legal services for things like that. That's what that line item is related to. So it doesn't happen very often. We budget, a few $1,000s every year, and it's kind of up and down.
Sure. Thank you for that clarification. And there was another one for other contracted services on that for $33,519.
In which cost center?
I think that was the same.
No,
Let me
it's
just
not.
double-
It's not within Corp Council.
I'm
Other
sorry.
Human resources.
Okay.
Oh, there, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I had the same ones highlighted.
Audrey. Other contract services for $33,000. It's year to date. See it right there. Yeah, I'm not sure offhand. Every once in a while, sometimes some of the medical vendor services we have will get expensed into here on accident. That'd be my guess of what happened because we don't have that budget line item. We'll take a closer look at it though.
Sure, again, it's just trying to follow through with the
Yeah.
numbers. Okay.
Yep.
And the only other one I had with, let's see, one of the other ones, I'm sorry, under the IT area, just, you had a pretty good size one for managed print costs, but then the rents and leases. And I was wondering what they do with the rents and leases, if that's for, if they're in an outside placement or,
Yeah, well, the managed print services, that's a pass-through. So they'll pay for all of the printing costs and then they'll charge it back to other departments. So it builds up and then it goes back down to budget. So that one just looks odd during the course of the year.
Sure.
Their rents and leases, let me find that.
it's kind of towards the bottom, I think.
rents and leases there.
I don't know, we'll ask John about that one when he comes in. I don't know what that 11,000 is offhand.
Then, contract treasurer, it's line 57,410. There was like losses of 11,000. I was just wondering what that was about.
You want to explain the losses, Denise?
So those are, there's a couple things we put in there. Our personal property, uncollected personal property chargebacks
Okay.
that a municipality is not able to collect, they can charge that back and we pay it out of that account. Same with our refunded rescinded taxes when there's a correction with the tax, they can charge that back if it's approved by the Department of Revenue. And then we pay that back and we actually add that to our apportionment the next year and recoup it. So we don't really, we only budget, I think, 7,000 because we don't really know what errors there might be, but that's what that's used for.
Okay, thank you. And then I think this is the last question for me, and this part is the facilities area. There was a increase over budget of like $15,215.
Yep, that's on the water and sewer. Oops, sorry. That's on the water and sewer line item, I think. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah. So if you look at the prior 2 years, they ended at 38,000 and 41,000. We were at 32,465 last year. This year we're at 35,215. We've just been under budgeting that line item. That is one of the line items that we increase, and I think we increased it up to 40,000 for next year. We finally caught that, corrected that, and have made that adjustment.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? Oh, Supervisor Fiedler.
Just a general question on the ARPA funds. Could you just briefly review where the ARPA funds sit at this point?
Yeah. I might ask John now that he's back. On the IT expense report, there was $11,000 rents and leases expense.
Yeah, so that got journaled back out of there into the software subscriptions. When we started categorizing our software leases, which really, that's what a subscription is a lease on the software. It's categorized properly as a lease, but we don't have a budget for that. That's why when I picked it, as I drilled down through the Oracle procurement process, it put it in that lease category. Leah, while she was here, said next year, all those subscriptions need to be reported as leases. So you will see that in there going forward in 2023 and on. But it was just how Oracle categorized it. We journaled it back into. So next month, if it's still in there this month on this report, next month it'll be negatived out and put into the correct category.
All right. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Thank you.
Supervisor Fiedler asked about the ARPA, so that's in your packet. I can't read which page number that is. Page 33, I think it is, in the packet. So here's all of the ARPA projects. So you can see some of the building ones. We've closed those out. I think there's only one that's left open. That's the healthcare campus HVAC replacement. So the building ones have been closed out. A couple of the IT ones we've closed out. The big one outstanding there is the $3 million for broadband projects. Those are all due to be completed by the end of 2024. So expect a lot of expenses probably next year on those. The Health and Human Service grouping then, those were mostly 3-year ones. So we expect those expenses to trickle in over the 3 years. And the expenses are reflective of that. That's what we're seeing. And then finally, the public protection ones down at the bottom. Those were primarily they were one-time expenses, the law enforcement compensation ones, and the other one being the pretrial case managers, which was a 2-year funding. And so they've spent a portion of that, but they got quite a bit left.
And where do I see where we put the second tranche of money into the KIP?
Yep.
Is that reflected here?
Yeah, it is. It's listed here as lost revenues, so it's project 700-260, lost revenue, totaling about $8 million. That's the money that has been moved over to the KIP, basically.
And given what's happening on the building and the potential use of that money, do we think we'll see any of this come back into, I'll call it the ARPA budget for other uses?
Yeah, I'll be able to better answer that question after March.
Granted. Okay,
So,
just kind of keeping an eye
until
on
then,
it.
I'm still just guessing.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Supervisor Long.
Just quick clarification, facilities, page 30, that nice big red number of 255,000, so I'm sure there's a clarification for that. Down at the bottom, right?
Yep. Capital improvements, 255,000. So those are going to be some of those ARPA projects that we were just looking at. And so we hadn't budgeted for those capital expenditures. They will end up with a revenue offset. I can look to see if we have the revenue yet in there. Yeah. So up at the top, other federal payments of $225,000. That's the offsetting revenue. That's offsetting that expense.
Missed that one, thank you.
Yeah. Neither the revenue or the expense side was budgeted because it was an ARPA project.
All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Move on to the next item. Resolution approving a quitclaim deed between the County of St. Croix and the City of Glenwood City.
Yeah, so 27 years ago, roughly, we agreed to transfer over this piece of property. It's the northeast corner of the fairgrounds, basically. There was some land swapping that was going on back in the 90s, and this piece was missed. And so the city attorney noticed it somehow, I don't know how, but reached out to us, and we said that we would get the paperwork together to fix that. So we're just completing what we promised to do 27 years ago.
All
I
right.
move to approve the resolution approving a quitclaim deed between the County of St. Croix and the City of Glenwood City.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any conversation, discussion? No? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Our next item, resolution authorizing additional step increases for certified nursing assistant positions. Audrey.
So based on a request from the healthcare campus administrator, I conducted a wage study for CNAs, or the certified nursing assistants. Currently, there's a nationwide shortage of CNAs, which has impacted the market rate for the position over the last year. And we just wanted to ensure that we were still competitive in the market because we've had some turnover in that position and have had difficulty hiring. The analysis showed that we are currently paying below market. And so we are requesting, or it's my recommendation, that we increase the starting wage for the position from step 5, which is currently where it's at. It's $15.96 an hour. Increase that to step 8, which is $17.02 an hour. In order to initiate that change, it's also recommended that we increase existing employees' wages to kind of match that 3-step increase. And the overall expense of that is estimated to be around $62,000. That expense is hopefully offset by being able to increase our staffing levels so that we can increase the number of beds and also reduce our dependency on our current contract services that are quite expensive at this point.
All right, any questions from the committee? Is there a motion? No. Right. All right, motion by Supervisor Fiedler. Second by Supervisor Burning. Any other discussion? No? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Next item, reclassification request for clinical substance abuse counselor to clinical supervisor.
Okay, Okay, this is me again. The Behavioral Health Division, we've been kind of talking about some management changes over the last several months where you've approved different changes. They've just had an opportunity to kind of reorganize their department to better fit client needs and improve the cohesiveness between their interdepartment. So as part of this change, the deputy director is requesting the reclassification of an existing clinical substance abuse counselor position to add a clinical supervision role to that position. And it's really a requirement of the state in order to meet their current supervisor-employee ratio requirements. So it's more a need kind of than a want at this point.
Any questions? A motion?
I move to approve the reclassification request for clinical substance abuse counselor to clinical supervisor.
All right, motion by Burning,
I'd second it.
second by Supervisor Counter. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Supervisor Counter.
In your job description on page 52, under the physical requirements in the 6th bullet point, just wondering if that should have an A instead of an "and" on the second portion of it.
You said which bullet point?
Bullet point 6. In the second half.
The abusive or violent? Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry, I'll have to bring it up
Sorry.
here just to make sure I
It
get
says
it.
may require dealing with persons who are hostile, aggressive, abusive, or violent, posing, threatening, or posing threatening conditions.
No, sorry,
that
1, 2, 3, 4.
6. Am I looking at the wrong one?
Last one?
I have it right, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's fine.
I'm not finding it now. It was there before. I might have been, Maybe
the issue
it's
resolved
down.
itself.
let me just double check here. I should have wrote the whole sentence out.
There.
I'll get back to you afterwards.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's-
and
it's
if you
a-
find
It's
it,
a real minor thing.
that's
It was
something we
just,
can-
it was one of those things where usually you do "and" if it's in front of a vowel.
Oh,
and
sure.
"a" if
Just
it's in front of
It was
a,
just a typo, we can fix it.
that's all it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
It was something yeah.
Oh, maybe under work environment, in an secured inmate setting. So it might be in a secured,
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds,
might be right there. I will make that change.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I got it in the wrong area.
No, that works.
Can we make a motion for Grammarly Premium? No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Is that amendment? All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, item number 5, resolution amending special compensation categories.
So there's 2 requests within this resolution. One is for the HHS interpreter translator stipend pay, which already exists. It's currently being paid at $7 an hour. That was approved back in 2015. Since that time, we haven't increased or looked at increasing that pay. So a request was made to increase that pay by $1 an hour up to $8 an hour. The county's been averaging around $300 an hour for internal interpreter services, so that extra $8 an hour times the 300 hours. So if approved, it would have approximately a $300 impact to the annual budget.
All right, Supervisor Fiedler.
Well, I'll just bring the motion to the floor.
Okay.
It-
Is there a second? You have a question?
No, just a quick discussion.
Okay.
I'd never seen anything quite like this, and I thought it was actually very creative. If we have an employee who can also be a translator, we add a little bump to their salary and periodically adjust it. And I just thought that was a very, very interesting thing to be able to do, because I know translators are so expensive. And to do this, I think is, as I said, very creative.
Yeah, she's been worth her weight in gold, I think, so.
All right.
Should I go the second one as
Sure.
well?
Yep.
So also looking at an addition of abstractor stipend pay, so this request was made, the first deputy in the Register of Deeds has already kind of been performing these duties as she knows how to perform them. And so it's just a request that we would be paying her for these additional duties that she's already performing outside of her regular job duties. She spends approximately 230 hours a year doing abstractor duties, so we'd like to add $1.50 an hour for those hours that are spent performing that duty.
All right, Supervisor Fiedler, did your motion include the second piece too? The abstract? Okay, and the seconder, yes, okay. All right, any other discussion? No, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, item number 6, resolution amending personnel policies.
Okay. So this is the one that I accidentally talked about last month, separation from employment. All of the language is just regarding updates to long-term sick bank policy. Since the board approved that back in October, we needed to update the other policies that referenced that long-term sick bank.
All right, any
I'll move
Supervisor
to
Long?
approve.
All right, motion by Supervisor Long. Yes, is there a second? Second by Supervisor Fiedler. Any discussion? No? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, item number 7, consideration of mandated discretionary services, finance, and county treasurer. Are you covering this, Ken?
Not the treasurers, but Dustin and I will handle the finance.
Okay,
one.
we're gonna do the finance, all right.
Basically, with finance, there's a lot of things that the finance department does. They're not mandated by the state that we do them, like paying the employees and paying invoices, but they're just logical things that any business does in order to operate. So while not mandated, they're a necessity to operate the business. So if you look through that list, I don't think there's anything in there that's, that we do that's extra, that's not done by any other normal business, so.
Supervisor Fiedler.
Just a quick, very general question to the administrator. We started this process about a half a year ago or so, and the departments have done a nice job of, you presented this as a format, and we all agreed to it, and they followed it, and they've done a good job at it. Do you think in hindsight, now that you've observed some of these reports at the other committees and at this committee, do you think this is a good way to review what we're doing at the county, or would you think that we could maybe do we meaning the supervisors could do a better job of asking better questions and diving into it in any different approaches? Or do you think this has worked out as a very good approach that has given us the information we need to do our job?
Yeah. I think that this has been very educational for the supervisors, especially the 9 new supervisors that we brought on this year. So I think this is a great exercise that we'll probably repeat every 2 years when we have the election. And I know it was quite a bit of work for a lot of the departments, but it's not going to change a lot in 2 years, so it won't be a lot of additional work for the department heads at that point in time. But it'll be all brand new for any new supervisors that are elected. So that's how I see this moving forward in the future.
Supervisor Fiedler.
Again, it's really just kind of an observation, but I'm not sure that, I think it's been a good exercise as well, and I think it has benefited both the department directors and the supervisors, so I think it's all good. One thing that I've always struggled with is if money got really tight, do we have some reasonably thoughtful, efficient, fair way of determining priorities? Because right now, we've been very fortunate that the money's been going up, 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 and we've been able to spend it. But if all of a sudden we did have a bad period, and we needed to all of a sudden look at cuts, which I'm not suggesting, do you think we have a methodology that'll get us to ascertaining those priorities?
Yeah. Over the last 27 years of my career, we've had ups and downs before. And I'm fully capable of recommending to you where those cuts would need to take place, should it happen. Been there before, I've done that. It's not necessarily a list that I publish, so departments can sweat about it, but it would be done if necessary.
Oh, Supervisor Long, can't see you way down there.
It's okay, I'm here. So I'm kind of curious, as I look through this list, nothing really popped out at me as to, should we consider other options? But there was one item I thought, I'm curious if we've ever considered an outside payroll vendor as opposed to doing it in-house. Have we looked at the costs? Would there be any savings, or is it going to be that much more? It's probably more efficient to do it in-house, I would imagine, but I'm just kind of curious if we've ever looked at that.
Yeah. So an outside payroll vendor is going to want all of the data, all of the hours. So basically, they're going to take all of our timesheets and they're going to create the pay stubs and then process those directly for direct deposit. So our computer system does that. So we're not doing anything more really than all of that inputting, making sure that the time cards are correct into the system, and it's then uploading of that and double checking, making sure everything's correct. So I don't know that an outside payroll service would reduce much at all of our processing time, because it's still verification of the hours that's the most important in the processing, and then changing, someone's pay or changing someone's deductions. But that's still all on us, even with an outside payroll vendor. So if we did not have as sophisticated of a computer system as we have, it would probably be a different discussion and a different analysis. But because the system is so advanced, we're better off with the way that we're currently doing it.
Okay. And we have the county treasurer here as well.
So the treasurer's office, most of the duties you see in the report are mandated by statute. Even the job description for the treasurer is the statute itself, 59.25. The only two things on that list that aren't mandated would be the second item, collection of first installment property taxes for those 16 municipalities that we contract with. And we do charge them for our costs in that, so we're recouping that. And then the last item, just reconciling the bank statements. That's not really detailed in statute, but we're kind of doing that in coordination with finance for obvious reasons. Yep.
All right, any questions?
I'd like to take a look at what our options are in case a referendum fails in April that we just voted on this last Monday, or last Tuesday.
Would that be this committee, or would that be public safety? I'm just asking to clarify.
I think it would be ours, since we are the administration committee and like the budgets come out of ours. Like maybe both could look at it, but I think we need to have an option just in case that does not work out. Merry Christmas, everybody. In case I don't see you between now and then.
No? Okay. Thank you, committee members. Thank you, staff. I hope everyone has a great holiday season, and we'll see you in 2023. Thanks. The meeting is adjourned at 5:31.